Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. Just saw The Matrix. Yes, the 1999 Matrix is in the theaters uh, today, basically. So, what was today's date? April 3rd, I think today was. Wednesday, 2024. This movie's 25 years old, so it's a special re release, 25th anniversary. And I made a point to go see it, and I was not the only one. The theater had a nice crowd tonight. I mean, a nice, comparatively, about 9 people. And you might be saying, well, like, gee whiz, Mike, that's nothing. But on a Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. In this particular town, that's actually pretty good. I go to a lot of movies. A lot of times, there's my only person in the theater is me. But should you see this movie? Should you not? If you haven't seen The Matrix by now, what are you waiting for? Very exciting. Uh, so it's a good movie. I mean, seeing this movie is kind of like checking in with an old friend. I'm not one of these people that has certain movies that I watch repeatedly. There's a few like that in my life, maybe Highlander, maybe Goodfellas, but I don't really make a point. I know some folks, they'll watch the Lord of the Rings every year, or they'll watch the Star Wars movies every year. I don't do that. If the movie happens to get re-released, a special event like this that I want to see, I'll go see it, and I did. So what do I? Well, first of all, I went into this thing. The Matrix is kind of one of those pop culture phenomenons that people kind of retool. The blue pill, red pill routine has been kind of culturally appropriated by different agendas. People want to use that for their own things, and I don't know. I mean, it's nice to see the actual source material, because you hear the blue pill, red pill, different people use that metaphor for different things, and it's nice to see the original movie, okay, and how it was used there. And then Lawrence Fishburne, I mean, I don't know if you've heard this story. I've heard it a million times. Apparently, Quentin Tarantino, when he was writing the character in Pulp Fiction that eventually Samuel L. Jackson would play, Jules, our buddy there, fucking Tarantino, wrote it for Fishburne. And apparently Fishburne did not want to do it for whatever the fuck reason. And I believe that what Fishburne says is that his agents or managers at the time wanted Lawrence Fishburne to only be considered for lead roles. And this character of Jules, in their opinions, was not the lead role in Pulp Fiction, although I would say that Pulp Fiction really is an ensemble movie, 3 different storylines, as we know, and Jules is right up there with the Travolta character and the Bruce Willis character and the Uma Thurman and so forth. And, these agents or managers said, no, Fish. I don't even know if they gave him the script or not. But in any event, he ended up not doing the movie, went to Samuel Jackson, and the rest is history. So I kind of feel, in my view of the world, that this movie, The Matrix, was kind of like the make good for that, because, Lawrence Fishburne has second seating, basically, second on the list here for this one, behind Keanu. And Fishburne basically has an iconic performance in this. So, I mean, what lesson can we learn? Whatever the fuck. I mean, if you make a big goofball mistake and pass on them, whether you make it or your agent manager. I guess the point is, if you have fucking idiots for agents and managers that don't know a great opportunity for the talent when it's there on their goddamn silver platter, then just people are fucking morons, okay? So anyway, moving on. The other thing that it reminds me of this movie reminds me, there was a time for like 10 years when everyone shat all over Keanu Reeves' acting, that he said whoa too much and he was just an idiot. Probably the younger folks out there don't remember this, but I clearly do. There was this time when Keanu Reeves' acting was like this goddamn punchline. But the guy just kept doing movie after movie. I don't know if he's ever been an Academy Award guy or not. I don't think so. But I mean, he's just, he's the people's favorite. So whoever the fuck shits all over his acting, I mean, it was one of those like late night talk show jokes or stand-up comedian jokes. If you wanted a cheap laugh, you took a pot shot at Keanu Reeves' acting. Well, he's doing better than any of us assholes. So there you go. What else? Okay, here we go. Here's the timely conversation. A couple of years ago, I started hearing when, they're making this Matrix, like the fourth sequel or whatever the fuck, which I did see about a year ago. The two individuals, originally they were brothers, now they're sisters. Wachowski, I believe, is the name. Basically, they were two men who had transgender operations as adults, I think deep into adulthood, after they had the first Matrix and several other films, because if you see on the credits, I was kind of expecting them for this re-release to change the credits, but at the end of the movie, it's listed as Wachowski brothers. Now they're the Wachowski sisters. Both people have transitioned into women, and they now go by, when they do, I don't even know if they work together as much anymore, but they go by the Wachowski sisters. And one of those folks, fine sisters, said that the whole Matrix movie was a giant metaphor for what they were going through as, at the time, young men longing to live as women, and that the Matrix was this giant metaphor for that. So I heard that a couple of years ago, and I watched an interview with one of the sisters who explained further, and it was quite interesting. So I'm like, well, shit. A whole generation of people grew up with this movie not realizing that. So I went into this movie, the re-release tonight, with that little seed of information and trying to see, like, does that happen? Like, did I see that in the movie, that what these guys at the time, now women, were going through? See how fucking politically correct I am? I'm just dancing on that. So I see it in a little bit, because basically the metaphor goes as far as this far for me. Basically, you're living in one pattern or one system, i.e. as a male, and you really feel like something's wrong, something is incorrect with the whole setup, meaning for these Wachowskis, they wanted to be female, which is, but once you choose that, you have to go through all this big bullshit, like people shooting you and your fucking martial arts and Carrie Moss and all this stuff, where I think the metaphor doesn't hold up so much for the general audience is that this movie is kind of like a haiku or a poem or a dream where you can kind of put your own shit into it. So anybody could say, hey, I was born in Iowa, but I really wanted to be in California, and I saw The Matrix, and it inspired me to do all this crazy shit. So I feel like perhaps for them, when they were writing it, directing it, producing it, that metaphor or that struggle was in their systems. But I think for everyone watching this film, you can kind of get out of this film what you want, because there's enough there. And in other words, enough not there. Like, there's some things that are kind of blanket, like a lot of the Fish's, what's his character's name? Morpheus. A lot of Morpheus's dialogue is like this fucking Shogun, Shaolin monk stuff. You know what I mean? So you can kind of bring to the table your own wood, is what I'm saying. The other thing is payphones. This movie, the Keanu Reeves character is in 1999, but I believe it's like 21, whatever the fuck, that the other characters are in. And I think even in their realm, there's like these payphones. It's interesting that even in a sci-fi movie, certain things kind of held on to. And in this film, we see the use of cell phones, like the flip Nokias, and we don't see, a smartphone, but we see the standardized, because smartphones weren't around yet, but we do see like payphones still hanging around, and even an old, like, kind of, it looks like a rotary black phone at one point. It's just interesting. There are like scenes of like, CDs or DVDs when we see Neo or whatever the fuck, Anderson, lying there at the beginning. He's surrounded by data, and we see like a CD and so forth. So it's interesting. Joey Pants is in this thing, Joe Pantolino. I was on set in Rhode Island many years ago. There was some pilot that he was supposed to be the star of, and like the day that I showed up to go to work, the whole show got canceled and kiboshed. So I think like Joey Pants himself had to tell everybody, or he chose to tell everybody. It was a sad moment. What else? And he had these two little dogs. Like he was one of these actors that had like little dogs, like little show-off dogs. You know what I mean? That he's walking around. What else? Carrie-Anne Moss, you know, beautiful woman, and I'm watching this movie and I'm thinking, who the fuck, you know, what happened to her? Like, and I guess she's still rich and famous and all that shit. But I mean, I think she was in the Matrix thing from last year. I don't remember seeing her in a ton of crap anymore. What else? What else, folks? I don't know, just a lot. Oh, the fucking bad guy, the guy that plays Smith. Really, he's kind of like the guy in Terminator 2. Like, he's kind of this iconic villain. But, I mean, I'm sure he does, like, conventions and horse shit. But has he had a great career since? I don't know. You tell me. Tank and Dozer, you know, that's nice. I don't know. I like the fucking movie. I mean, I'm not going to write an essay about all the wonderful things. I'm just kind of thinking about, you know, I go into this movie with kind of like looking for this, you know, transgender metaphor that the Wachowskis have proclaimed. I see it a little bit, but I also see that I don't think it applies to everybody, because that's the great thing about art. You know, whether it's my art, these wonderful paintings that I do, okay, acrylics. This one's still in the making. I haven't colored these folks in down here. Where all the wonderful things I do, art is really open to everyone. You know, once you make your art, the film, or whether you write a book, or whatever the fuck you do, because really there's two creators. There's the creator, the painter, in this situation me, and then there's the interpreter, in this situation you. And with these films like The Matrix or The Wizard of Oz or whatever the fuck movie, you know, you can put a lot into it, but it's like, as far as creating it, but it's really like a great piece of art is when the audience, how much they put into it. So how much of your art, whether it's your film, your book, your poem, whatever, the song, whatever the fuck it is, painting, whatever you do, how much does it inspire an audience to give their take on it? So that's it, MikeMessier.com, with all these deep thoughts. The Matrix, thumbs up, good job.